Hello and welcome to Sam Splains the World. I'm your host, Samantha Bremekamp, and I have a very fun way to dress up your salmon, should you be so inclined. With some simple ingredients and a little extra information, you have the shot of taking this, which you may not be into, and making it something that you and your kids or whoever look forward to eating. A very important thing with salmon, and when you are dressing up a salmon, is to make sure you dry it. I know you're thinking, you're like, what are you talking about? No, you're not gonna like dry it and make it crispy, but you're going to try to get as much of the moisture out of it as possible by just using a paper towel. You might have to do this a couple times. There are worse things. And why are we even doing this? Because you want the flavors that you're going to pair with it to take. Otherwise, if it's too liquidy, it'll taste okay, it just won't really capture the flavors as much as you like them to. And if you're somebody who also loves salmon and just doing like a really simple salt brine, drying it is crucial to get that crispiness. Because again, without it, it will not come out as well. It'll still be okay to eat, but it's just not as fun. Okay. So that was it. That's how easy that was. You might have to do it a couple times depending on if you just grabbed it out of the ocean or not. But that's something for you to determine between you and your salmon or your fish guy, if you have a fish guy. And if you do, good for you. That's great. So we are going to take salmon. I'm going to add dark brown sugar. I'm going to add some maple syrup. Yes, obviously got this at Costco. It's huge and it's really good for, oh yeah. Look at those reps. Costco always gives free CrossFit things. They frown upon you doing it in the store per se, trying to like flip tires and stuff, but you know, it just depends on how fast you are at running. Just kidding, please don't do that. Maple syrup, salt or pepper, salt, and a lemon that I've cut in half. So I'm just gonna use half a lemon to squeeze over it. There's an order that I like to do this in, which I highly recommend. And since you're following along, why not try it? And if you decide that you like it, cool. And if you don't, then you never have to do it again. Cooking is always about experimentation. It's like kind of pushing the limits of science and flavors for a good time. So yes, it looks like a lot, but it's not gonna all stay. I'm basically creating right now a starter paste with the brown sugar. I'm going to add the lemon next because I think making like a lemon brown sugar paste is delicious, but also works really well on the salmon. Okay. All right. And you can also use other things if you're not into this, maybe like a molasses. Oh man, how cool would that be? Nice smoky flavor. I'm using 2 pieces of salmon, so I'm using half a lemon. If you're using, just cooking for one, with like 1 fillet, then use a quarter. Or if you're just obsessed with lemon, use half or whole. It's up to you. Which is, again, super exciting that you get to be the captain in your kitchen. I'm going to now do a little pepper. And a little salt. And sure, we could do pepper down here, but this just reminds us of like a really fancy, fun restaurant. So you just, I don't know, I love it. And it's wood, it's just fun. It feels good. And a little bit of maple syrup. Okay, so you can either directly do this in tin foil, by creating it and then making a boat and crimping the tin foil around it and putting it on the grill, in the oven, however you want to cook it. Or you're going to do what I'm doing. You're putting it in a glass container. You're going to have it sit and you're going to flip it a couple times. And I'm not going to pull this out until it's dinner time, where it's going to be super delicious, really ready. And it took like, what, 3 seconds basically? I have no concept of time, but it didn't take a long time. And this is amazing. My partner and I are gonna pair it with a delicious asparagus that has lemon and Parmesan cheese, which is to die for. And the combination, we had this about a week ago and we just couldn't get over how delicious both things tasted together, how well they paired together. But couldn't get easier than that. It's delicious, it's easy, and everyone I make this for loves it. So thanks for watching this quick, easy, and fun Sam Explains the World Salmon Dress Up Edition. May all of your salmon dressing up go as planned and be more delicious than you could have ever anticipated. Now that the salmon is sitting pretty and waiting for us to heat up the oven and get it ready, I'm gonna quick teach you about the asparagus that was delicious, that paired really well with that salmon that I had just mentioned. These are the things you're going to need. You guessed it, asparagus. Some form of Parmesan cheese. I like the longer ones. My partner prefers the more ground up kind. Dealer's choice, honestly. Some EVOO and the lemon. It's super easy. You're going to take tinfoil. You want to make sure it fits the asparagus. You're going to take the asparagus that you've thoroughly washed, cleaned, and cut to the length that you want. You're going to make a little boat in tinfoil. I apologize for how loud tinfoil is. I've spoken to it, but it just continues to be loud, which I kind of get. I'm crimping the sides to now make it a boat, so I'm able to easily pour in oil. Nice little drizzle of EVOO. You want to do a nice coat. You don't want to do too much. You definitely don't want to overpower it. Make sure like they're coated, so you're gonna make sounds with tinfoil as you swiggle them around so they get nicely coated. You're gonna take your lemon, you're gonna cut it. With a knife. So it has the oil. It's in the tinfoil boat that you created. I took about this much of lemon because I'm just doing a few pieces of asparagus. Obviously, if I do more asparagus, like this big, beautiful bag, I would use more of everything. But the important thing to note is that when you're heating this up, you're going to put the oven on 400. You're going to make sure the insides is 400 so it matches what's really needed. And you're going to put this in with just the oil, lemon, some salt, pepper, which I'll grab right now. And it's going to cook at 400 for about 20 minutes. Do not do the cheese just yet. You wait until about the last 2 minutes to then sprinkle on the cheese. If you like the shredded or not, whatever you prefer in the Parmesan family. That way it doesn't get like soggy and like soak up the oil and lemon and whatever. It creates a really nice, crisp, delicious coating, and I highly recommend it. You can add as much salt or pepper as you want. You know how much I love this old-fashioned looking fancy restaurant pepper grinder and the one-sided salt grinder, because I prefer pepper in this because it makes me feel super special. And that's it. You then seal it up so it becomes its own little cooking hub. You put it in the oven that's been preheated to 400. You let it sit there for about 18 minutes. Then you go in and coat it with as much Parmesan as you'd like for the last 2 minutes so that this crisps up, and bing bang boom, it is absolutely delicious and pairs so well with that candied salmon that we made earlier. I am super excited for dinner, so I'm going to get off of this and hurry up and eat everything. After it's cooked, don't learn that the hard way. You win some, you lose some. If you take my tips, hopefully you'll be winning more than losing. Thank you so much for stopping by for this Sam Explains the World. asparagus with lemon and Parmesan addition that pairs so nicely to the Slammin Salmon we did earlier. Bon appetit. Talk about a delicious end result. You're going to blow the minds of your guests. Even if you are your own guest, you're in for a treat. Hello, and welcome to Sam Explains the World. I'm your host, Samantha Bremekamp, and on today's quick little episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to give your string of pearls succulent plant a haircut and how to propagate that into new plants, which is super exciting. It's really easy, it's not going to harm it, and it will help it with its growth. And the reason, of course, that I'm giving it a haircut is because I have it hanging in my kitchen over the sink. Which is lovely, but when it starts to get too long, it starts to get in the way of the dish rack, drying rack, or washing dishes, or whatever, and you don't want to get tangled up in your plant. That's just madness. So I'm going to take my trusty scissors, the regular scissors, and I'm going to find a spot that would be ideal. So unlike other succulents, in which, like Hens and Chicks, which are probably the most common kind, in which you're able to take a petal from them and just stick it in dirt and it becomes its own plant, which is so awesome, low maintenance, perfection. These are a little different. The little pearls are not actually able to propagate and become a new plant. However, their vines can. So the important thing is to find sections like this. Like this has offshoots and growths. So he's having a good time, or she, I don't know, it's life. And it's ready to start its own kingdom. So right above that, I cut it. And it's actually the stem that's important because that will be where the new roots form and the new plant can come from. So I have cut and haircut, beautiful, the other one. And I just wanted to show you by reusing recycling containers that I've cleaned thoroughly, by the by, and just putting them, the string of pearls, directly into the dirt and pressing down and making sure the dirt remains wet but not like soggy. You don't want to make a soup and have it just be miserable. And I did this several days ago and you can tell it's still green. They're still super happy, so it's working. And I use this kind of container from recycling also. Just variety is the spice of life. And my other string of pearl plant, for some reason, had a longer hairstyle. So this worked better because I needed a longer vessel to gently push in the cuttings. It could not be easier. It's super fun. Succulents are so easy and they are drought tolerant, especially Hens and Chicks outside. They do really well. String of pearls like to remain inside. They're not outside plants. Not in where we live. Perhaps if you live in a tropical climate, you won't have any issues and these grow in the wild and super cool. But up in the Northeast, that's not the situation, which I learned the hard way a bunch of times, having my heart broken, not understanding why, like their cousins, the Hens and Chicks, they weren't thriving outside. It's because they don't like being outside in our climate. So they are both super happy hanging in my kitchen window that gets a little bit of sun, just enough, and I don't overwater them. If they start to look like raisins, like the little pearls, that's an indicator that you definitely need to water it. But I periodically check by taking my finger, well, getting on a step stool, because obviously I'm super tall, and feeling the soil. And if, like, putting my finger in it an inch or two, and it's super dry, I will then put water in it, and the water will fall out. Usually do it over the sink, or I'll put a plant underneath it that also needs to be watered because it's super easy if this is hanging here and I could just put a plant there to catch the water. Twofer, super awesome. But they're really fun. And something I didn't know about these because I had never had success with them before, they love living in your kitchen, and so much so that they will sprout flowers, which I had no idea that these sprouted flowers, but they do, and they smell so delightful, and they're weird little fuzz balls. They're unassuming, and then you smell them and it's just, oh, divine. And it's really nice to have a natural scent maker in your kitchen to offset all the cooking and cleaning that you're doing, because as adults, we were never told that that's an endless cycle. It happens all day, every day. We've been tricked, but until then, we'll just continue on living as amazing humans. And even if you're afraid of not being a green thumb, I believe in you. And because it took me so long to figure out the key to making these remain happy, I happily share that with you. So thank you for stopping by this delightful and quick Sam Explains the World String of Pearl edition, giving a haircut and propagating. I believe in you. Okay, so unlike the string of pearls that I just spoke about, I have a variety of different succulents that I put together at the super fun Galentine's Day weekend that I brought my mom to when she was visiting at Glick's. If you haven't checked out Glick's, you really should. They have really awesome stuff. They'll be opening soon full time for the spring gardening season. And no, I'm not sponsored by them. I just really liked it. It was a great time. We created these, and each succulent plug was 99 cents. You can't beat that. So unlike the string of pearls, this is a hen and chick, which is like the super common variety. And here are a couple others. And as I was mentioning, the petals fall off. And that's okay, because their whole goal in life is to just keep propagating and taking over the world, so you can use that to your advantage. This one already has some little roots sticking out of it, which is like just so cool. So you just stick it in the dirt. So I'm going to stick it in the dirt in this planter and do nothing. I'm going to watch it turn into a plant, like this super cute tiny one. That was a petal, like I just showed you, and now it has a growth because it's becoming its own plant, which is awesome. It's so much fun. How cute is this container too? I think I got the container for like under $5, and then each of these plugs was 99 cents, which is just so much fun. Totally check out Glick's. Again, not sponsored, but if you're gonna start gardening, you probably don't want to spend a ton of money on things that are expensive that you're afraid you're gonna kill. So I would find a local awesome place near you, and not a big box store. Give some cool business to a local spot, and then just enjoy the work. Look how beautiful this is. And I water it infrequently because they're drought tolerant and they don't like being overwatered. And they just hang out and look beautiful. And people are like, oh, is that fake? And they're surprised that it's not, because it's doing so well. And this was from Galentine's Day / Valentine's Day weekend. So I could not recommend it enough. Outside, we have hens and chicks all over the place, along like the stone wall and whatever. And they love to spread out, and you don't do anything with them. They take the rain if it rains. If it doesn't, drought tolerant, they don't care. And they spread out. Every now and again, I'll go out and take some new ones and give them their own kingdom space so that they can expand their empire. If you are looking for something to take over in a way that's not going to harm anything, it looks really great and you don't have to do much with it. Succulents, my friend. Anyway, thanks for stopping by for this Sam Explains the World Succulent edition, starting with the string of pearls, the haircut propagation, and ending with the beautiful variety and how to propagate the ones that you can just take the petals and just shove them into the earth. I believe in you. You can do it, because I can do it. So anybody can do it. Thanks for stopping by. And thanks to the magic of television, video recordings, and time, I can show you the string of pearls starting to grow, which is awesome. As promised, you can tell because they are sticking up. They have already started forming their own roots, and soon enough, I will be able to extrapolate them from my recycled containers and put them in their own pot and find a nice, fun spot indoors where it gets some good sun, but it doesn't get crushed by sun. And you see the end, friends. that have also taken root, which is really exciting. It's important when you are trying to propagate string of pearls succulents that you keep the dirt moist for this, because you want the plant to want to produce roots. And that's the way to do it for these, which is really exciting. This is like the first time that I've been able to, or tried even, to propagate string of pearls once I realized how to do it. So awesome, exciting, and really easy. So just getting one plant, or if you're like walking around and you just happen to find a part that's been pinched off, you know, sometimes you find volunteers out in the wild or at a plant center where things have fallen on the floor and you're simply helping get rid of the garbage, debris, and then you can propagate your own plants. Pretty awesome. One of my favorite things to do. I think it's really awesome when you go to neighborhoods that have like huge elaborate gardens, and when all of the things have gone to seed, meaning they're past their beautiful flowering stages and now they're ready to explode with seeds. It's super easy to collect a couple and start your own of whatever that plant is. And some of them you're being really helpful, not just deadheading things, but like if you go to a garden that has a lot of things for pollinators, butterflies, bees, the like, and they have like a butterfly bush, or what's a really invasive one? Milkweed, which is a very strange sounding name, but swallowtails love milkweed. And so it's important to have that in a container, but it's really important to contain it. So when the seed pods, which become like a hard brown pod from the nice green it had been, and it splits open, you start to see the fluffy seeds. So the seeds are a little brown, a little hard guys, but they're surrounded with fluff so that the wind takes them and they can expand and take over the world. But you're kind of being helpful. If when you see a seed pod exploding and there's no one around to save the day, you can save the day by collecting the seeds and stopping them from spreading, because they can be very invasive. It's a fine line sometimes with gardening, where you want to grow things that will help nature, but you don't also want that to then take over everything, so that all of your time in the garden is you fighting things like mint, like milkweed. Weeding is already annoying. So let's try to keep it to a minimum for you, so you get to just enjoy it and not just break your back trying to get like one bulb to not be eaten by a squirrel. Anyway, those tips are for next time. Just wanted to share the magic of propagating succulents that are a little different. String of pearl. Pretty awesome. You're amazing. Keep being great. Hello and welcome to Sam Explains the World. I'm your host, Samantha Bremekamp, bringing you tidbits to make your life easier. One such tidbit I discovered after, spending a great deal of time in my kitchen, cooking and cleaning, and not wanting to contaminate things after having handled raw fish or chicken or whatever. I absolutely did not like then touching my bottle of Dawn, because then that would get super gross and then I'd have to clean that off. And one day I remembered that I have things like this that come with lotion or cleaning products or whatever. And I wondered, I'm like, would this fit this bottle? And it did. And it has been a game changer, because now with your super dirty hands, you can instead use like the back of your hand, which hopefully isn't coated in fish or chicken unless you're doing it differently than me. Then share your tips, we'll talk about it. But you can just use the back of your hand that's clean and get the soap out to get it, the grime off your hands, or to hit the soap into a container that needs to be hand washed because it doesn't belong in the sink. And no, I'm not yet affiliated with Dawn, but feel free to contact me and we'll talk about it. But yeah, makes things a lot easier, really fun to get stuff off your hands as fast as possible, and that certainly helps. So thanks for stopping by. Sam Explains the World. Quick tip, washing your hands, pump into a Dawn or whatever soap container addition.